a view of right and wrong, and that there was some deity that they were accountable to. Now, they wouldn't get Jehovah right, but they knew that certain things were right and wrong by their conscience, that how God made them, and they knew they were accountable for what they do. To any person in Newark tonight, you could ask them if the things on this list and the things on their television were right or wrong before God. And most of them would give you a wry smile. And though they participate in them, and they know that they're wrong, they would probably say, well, I guess God doesn't like that. But yet the next day, they'll not only do the same things, but they'll have pleasure in those that do them. We are in a dark day. And there is not light for 2 more chapters. Christ doesn't come on the scene in Romans. I think the Lord wrote this because Christ is not so brilliant unless you understand how dark mankind is and how dark we are. But for Christ. But for Christ. I want to close the service a little bit different. I want Pastor Valiente and Pastor Print to come to the platform. If you understood what was preached tonight, you begin to see what's wrong with the cashier, and what's wrong with your neighbor, and what's wrong with the old lady that's in the retirement center that you're going to come in contact with when you go to Churchman's Village, and what's wrong with the people that you see all the time who don't have Christ. And it is bleak, and it is dark, and they are in desperate trouble. The wrath of God, according to verse number 18, is on them. They need the gospel. But let me tell you something else too. Unless the power of salvation from heaven falls like it did at the turn of the century in this world and in this country, we will give the gospel to ice cubes again and again and again who will not receive it. We need the power of God. Amen. We need men's hearts and minds to be open when we begin repeating that Jesus died for them and rose again. If not, all will be to none avail unless God breaks in. There were men that were before us for scores of years that prayed for revival. And it's time that this church begins to realize how dark the day is. Why don't we care? Why don't we care about what we've seen? This is what God sees in America. Why don't I care and you care the way that we should? Yes, praise the Lord, we have Christ. But this dark world needs Him. Amen. And we need revival. Amen. We need the kind of revival like Charles Finney experienced when he walked into a sewing machine factory one day. And he was preaching in a nearby town. And the evangelistic power of God was so strong upon them that he did not utter a word, but women at their sewing machines began to weep under the power of the conviction of sin until the owner-operator had to stop the factory so that Finney would open his mouth and tell the women about Jesus Christ, and there was a great amount that received Christ and continued for Christ. Amen. That can't happen from any earthly standing. Right. It must happen from above. I would like our pastors, Pastor Valiente and Pastor Pritt, to end our service by praying for revival. And after the last one finish, I want you to stay there right where you are, and I'm going to ask Amy to play him. And I want you just right there, or you can come forward and pray for the lost that you know. Pray for them. Pray for the people that are here this morning. Pray for your friends and pray for your family. They're in a dark place. Pray for them.